This is a 2000 Jeep Cherokee Sport. Has the 4.0 inline six. I've taken the alternator off so far, and now I'm currently taking the water pump and the cooling neck off. These are fairly straightforward. It's not too terribly difficult to accomplish. The bolts that hold the cooling neck in are 13 millimeter or half inch. I think it's more half inch since I didn't have a 13 and a half work perfectly. The bolts that hold it onto the tensioner bracket and the power steering bracket are 14 or 9/16. I have a wrench that is a 9/16 and it works fine, so I'm going to say that most of this is probably standard. So these two, let me find something to point with so my big fingers don't get in the way. This bolt and this bolt are extremely tight. These bolts shouldn't be too terribly tight, but they are on this one. The bolts that hold the pulley on, they're also 13. So you'll have to use either a long wrench or a helper wrench for these two. And then I've used so far a short half-inch 3/8 drive socket. Taken the coolant temp sensor out of the neck and took the thermostat out. I have to clean that surface up here in just a minute after I get the water pump out, just so I can clean both of them at the same time. Now the not the power steering pump, but the alternator mounts in this hole here. You have to take the battery out, the battery tray out, and then you've got full access to it. You do have to loosen the clamp that's on the front. You don't have to take it all the way off. Those are all 9/16 except for that very bottom one down there, and it is a 15. The alternator bolts themselves, I used a 15 to take them all out, and it seems to have worked great. This is the top bolt. You can see that there is no scoring around the outside edge of it, so it fit perfectly. That bolt goes through the front, bolts through the back with a nut. The bottom is just a short bolt, which is, actually it's on the ground. This bolt, it dead ends, so you don't have a nut on it. The hot wire for the back of the alternator mounts on with a 10 millimeter nut, and then your plug has a squeeze tab against the engine. You squeeze it, push the plug in, pull off. One other thing is the tensioner. The tensioner is down here. This is the driver's side of the vehicle. You have to unloosen the tensioner itself. It is 15. And then this is a 13. No, this is a 15 as well. I'm pretty sure. I'll let you know. Yes, it's a 15. So you take that loose, take the belt completely off, start taking whatever off that you need to take off after the belt tension is off of the alternator in this instance, and the water pump and the cooling neck. It's got the heater core bypassed, so they have a hose looping from this tube to the cooling neck. Oh, it's over here. It goes onto that side. That hose was leaking, so I cut an inch off of this end, and I will be cutting an inch off of this end because it looks horrible. It's cut there on the bottom side of that. The water pump gasket, the specific one that I'm using, has sealer built into it. Not a whole lot, but it does have. It is part number 35629 from Felpro. The water pump itself comes with a gasket, but I'm not going to be using that gasket simply because it looks very cheap. This is the back side of the water pump. You only got 4 mounting holes, and then you have the one for this tube here, and that is that hole up at the top side. So this is how the water pump sits in the vehicle. You have to reach down and take that hose clamp off. If it's screw clamped, then great. If it's not, then good luck. You have to have a hose clamp pliers or a set of good channel locks, but this is the tool that I have, although it's completely rusted and been sitting out in the weather for forever. I think it still works, but I don't need it for this specific application, simply because, as you can see, maybe, that is a screw clamp. So in order to gain access, fully accessed, I'm going to take off this fan. It's already loose on the bottom side of it, so I'm going to take the other two bolts out here. They look like 8mm, so I'm just test fitting, and it is an 8mm, so I'll take this one out. Then there's one just under here, mounted through the bottom side, that straps this guy here on. Unplug the fan. It's very easy to do if you can get it up and out. There's a tab on the bottom side of it. It's unplugged. And if you found this video helpful, give me a like and follow, please. I greatly appreciate it.